but saying, no, this is how much time we have, and we're going to accomplish this, let's go. If you don't use time the right way, 1 minute can feel like a panic attack. But if you use it the right way, 1 minute can feel like an eternity. When you do that, people's brains unlock in this really interesting way, and you start solving problems.
2 million on Instagram, 3.5 million on TikTok. We've cultivated some serious social followings.
People always say, is it quantity or quality? When it comes to solving problems, you start with quantity and then quality comes.
What makes a show truly unforgettable? Today I'm sitting down with Simmy Kustanowitz, the creative fixer who's cracked the code to audience engagement and retention, and he's sharing his playbook with us. Simmy, welcome to Big Players.
Matt, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We are thrilled. So you are executive producer and showrunner of Impractical Jokers. Producer, Adam Ruins Everything. You've worked on the Carbonaro Effect, Total Request Live, shows people just love. We are working on something. I want you to talk about it in just a second, but we recently began implementing a lot of your structures and your frameworks here. And one of the idea concepts that you pitched to us out of the gate that they kind of took and ran with, it exploded. Hundreds of thousands and plus views and all this kind of stuff right out of the gate. I mean, it was a day one difference. Just by implementing some of these kind of structures and tools that you have developed, the output and the effectiveness and the engagement as to what we're seeing is really remarkable.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. Some ups and downs, but overall it's been a great ride.
Being that you've worked on these incredibly popular shows, how do you keep the heart of these shows across so many seasons and changes in viewing habits?
So viewers, their habits have changed a lot. I mean, I've been in the industry for over 20 years. And when I was at TRL, Total Request Live, and I was there from starting in 2004, viewer habits were very different. People were voting on their favorite music videos that they wanted to see on TV. And obviously YouTube changed all that, and viewer habits have changed drastically since then. But I think that at the core, people just want entertainment that makes them feel good, makes them laugh. I mean, most of what I do is in the comedy genre. And I think if you're doing that, and if you're making audiences feel like they're part of the conversation, especially on a show like Impractical Jokers, making sure that the fans feel their feedback is being listened to and being appreciated by the guys. I think as long as there's a bit of a 360 conversation, that's a huge key to engaging audiences, especially in today's world.
And do you think some of the things that you were all doing on Total Request Live of getting that audience feedback and voting, and do you think that set some of the early stages for where we are now between social media and community building?
I do. I mean, look, I think whether it was Total Request Live or whether it was a show that I did not work on, but a show like American Idol, where people are sitting at home and felt like their vote and their voice counted. I think that really takes a lot of entertainment to the next level, because you have the entertainment factor, but you also have the engagement. So I think that a lot of those shows certainly set the stage for where we are now with all the user-generated content and all the interactivity between audience and product.
What role does audience feedback play in maintaining the essence of your shows?
So it's a tricky thing, because I always try to balance audience feedback while also recognizing that you want to make the show that you think makes the most sense, right? And I'm a very, very big believer in listening to the audience and hearing what they want. At the same time, it's a subjective thing, right? It's comedy, and what works for one viewer and fan is not going to work for the other. So it's all balanced. I go on Reddit all the time. I go onto the Impractical Jokers chat groups, and I see what people are saying. And there's a lot of good stuff. There's some crazy stuff in there. I mean, it is Reddit, but I go on social media and I watch what people are saying, and I really do try to take it to heart. But you also have to recognize that you can't listen to everybody, or you'll just start spinning in circles. So I always look for patterns, and I try to think about what the fans like. Ultimately, we're making the show, in this case, Impractical Jokers, we're making it for the fans and for the viewers.
So it's kind of taking this general sentiment and general wave as to how the community is feeling and trying to kind of gauge that with your comedic sensibilities and then the talents of your team and believing in their heart.
Yeah, it is a big balance. It's trying, you're balancing your own instinct with your coworkers' instinct, with obviously, in the case of Impractical Jokers, the Joker's instinct, because it is their show and you want to stay true to their vision, while also at the same time paying attention to what the viewers like and don't like. Impractical Jokers has been on the air we're shooting season 11 right now, and we've made more than 300 episodes. And so not all of them are going to be perfect. Not all of them are going to satisfy every fan, but I think it's our goal to keep the viewers coming back and make them feel constantly like, oh, the show has not taken a dip. The show is as strong as it's ever been.
And for the fans out there who are posting in the subreddit, who are tweeting about the show, and who are advocating and living it, and where it's really touching them, you guys are listening.
Yes, 100%. I am all over social media with this show. I think part of the secret sauce of Impractical Jokers has always been the fact that the guys feel like people that we all went to college with. The guys feel familiar. They feel like you're friends. And so because of that, the viewers are going to treat it as such, and viewers are going to want to interact with it. The Jokers are so good at staying close with their fans and interacting with them on social media. And so because of that 360 relationship, which I think has helped drive the show to its success, I see a big part of my job being staying in touch with those audience members and making sure that they feel heard. And if there's something that they don't feel is quite right, again, as a collective, that we take it to heart.
You know, and before I met you, before we became friends, I was a member of the Impractical Jokers subreddit probably for about 5 or so years at least. And it's been incredibly active. To maintain that audience enthusiasm over this amount of time is no small feat. And we see so many brands turning to media and content creation now. But this is old hat. You guys have been doing this a long time.
Because we are dealing with a general public that is going to respond differently every time because it's different people, the show will always feel different. We could do the same challenge 10 times on the same day, and it would feel like a different challenge every time because you never know how people are going to react. So if we did a challenge in a grocery store, for example, where one of the Jokers went over to somebody and said, hey, you look like the kind of person that, and then the other Jokers feed him in his ear what to say. If we do a bit like that, it's a super simple challenge. You never know how it's going to go. So because of that, I think the show really manages to stay fresh. And I think that's something that the audience really enjoys.
Staying fresh. These days, brands are becoming content creators as well. And people are becoming very aware of this concept of retention. With a background in television, how do you guys think about retention?
So retention is tough in today's world, right? It's an ADHD world, and it's really hard to keep people's attention. It's hard to keep people invested. I think engagement with fans on social media really helps in that way. I think the fact that we can get viewers excited. I mean, the Jokers or I often tweet or post. I mean, we're always engaging with the audience and saying, hey, we're on set right now. You're not going to believe what just happened. Or we just shot the craziest punishment we've ever shot. You got to stay tuned. Check it out. It's going to be coming in a month or so. And we drum up that sort of excitement, which I think helps with retention. I think it's a mixture of keeping content strong and social engagement.
You know, when we see creators, the massive ones like Mr. Beast, like Eric, who I see similarities in throughput between what you guys have been doing for years with drumming up mystery and intrigue and excitement, and then having these unscripted moments where if you would shoot it 10, 20 times, you get different reactions every single time. We see these creators implementing many of these tactics now. Do you think that they look towards Impractical Jokers and some of the work that like you've done, where maybe you've laid the groundwork for what we see some massive names doing today?
Yeah, I mean, look, Impractical Jokers has been on the air for such a long time. It's been on the air for over a decade that we have, we've got people who I definitely think are taking a page from our show. And that's obviously a huge compliment. It's amazing to think how long the show's been on the air. We had Post Malone on last season, and on set, Post was like, yeah, I've been watching this since I was a kid, since I was 13 years old. And you're like, oh, wow, the show's been on a long time, So it is pretty amazing. But I do think we do a good job of keeping viewers until the end. The promos department at the network does a great job of teasing what's coming up in future episodes. I'm constantly watching early cuts of episodes and flagging moments that I think will work really well in promos. And I think that helps with retention. I don't know if Mr. Beast is a Jokers fan or has taken a page from us, but I do think that there are a lot of people out there who have looked to Impractical Jokers as a bit of a guide in terms of how to retain audience and in terms of how to keep viewers coming back.
The format that you all introduced, teasing the punishment at the very beginning, blurring that out, and then this lead up. So even in episode retention, where something is exciting happening, there's punishment happening at the very end, you want to maintain that retention throughout the episode because you want to find out what's going on.
Commercial cable television is not in a great place, and it's very hard to keep people invested. So, in TV, we call it the deep tease, where you're teasing something that's coming at the end of the episode early on. any tricks you can use to keep people coming back, whether it's a tease going to commercial or coming back from commercial, or a deep tease at the beginning of the episode, whatever you could do to keep viewers invested is huge in today's world. But on Impractical Jokers, the fact that the punishment comes at the end of every episode is something that viewers can anticipate, look forward to, and stick around for. So that's a very, very big part of the success, I think, is the format.
What's so special about what you've done is that it appeals almost universally, whether you're old, whether you're young, no matter where you live.
100%. Somebody recently said to us that there's a little bit of Seinfeld or a little bit of Curb in this show, because you have these universal tropes, these pet peeves that people have that we tap into. So it's those little quirky moments that we all experience in life that we're trying to drill down on.
Impractical Jokers has 4.9 million fans on Facebook, almost 2 million on Instagram, 3.5 million on TikTok, just under 1 million on X. Other shows that you've worked on, Adam Ruins Everything, 1.3 million on Facebook, right under 100K on Instagram. You have cultivated some serious social followings. How important is engagement on these social followings to you all?
Engagement's huge. I mean, it's Adam Ruins Everything is a show. I was fortunate to be the network executive on that show. And Adam, that's another example. Adam Conover, the host of that show, is a man of the people, and he engages with the fans and takes their feedback seriously. I think that TV shows ignore fan feedback at their own peril.
For brands, creators, other shows, what are some tips you would give out to them to help get that audience feedback?
On a show like Impractical Jokers, we are helped by the fact that the Jokers tour, that they go around and that they perform in arenas and venues across the country. But I really just think that any opportunity, whether it's live events, whether it's as simple as just responding to people on social media, any kind of engagement is very important, especially in today's day and age when everybody's all about engagement and the 360 experience.
Your show has meant something very special to me personally. So when my first daughter was being born, we're in the hospital, we're there for several days, and we wanted some entertainment, some kind of media that made us happy, that made us feel at home, that kind of brought us to this like comforting moment. We had Impractical Jokers on for about 24 hours straight. And so some of the first voices that my daughter has ever heard are the voices from your show.
That's great. I love hearing that. I just this past weekend, I was introduced to a man, older guy, who had a lot of medical issues, was in the hospital for quite some time. And he said that Impractical Jokers is what got him through. Just the fact that it was on the TV, he just started watching and he got hooked. And he said the nurses would come and say, "Are you okay?" And he'd say, "Yeah, I'm just laughing out loud." And he said it really got him through some difficult times. And that is the best feedback that I hear. And I've heard it so much, and the guys hear it all the time. The Jokers hear it all the time.
One of the common threads on Reddit that you'll read is people going through depression and these tough times, just like you mentioned, and that this show is their lifeline.
Yeah. The Jokers will engage with fans who are having a really hard day, a really hard time in life. I think because the Jokers feel like your buddies that you went to college with, you feel like your friends are making you laugh when you watch the show. There's real beauty to the fact that people watch the show and feel so connected with it. And I think people who have who are going through difficult times in life find something in Impractical Jokers that helps them. And that's just a beautiful thing.
How do you balance keeping diehard fans happy while making the show accessible to new viewers?
So that is a great question. It's something that I have spent a lot of time thinking about. My goal always has been to be a show for everybody. I want this to be a show that the diehard fans love, but if you are turning the show on for the very first time and say, "I've heard a lot about this show, let me get a look and let me see what it is," I want those people to love the show too. And so there have been times that we've had an episode that feels like it has too many inside jokes. It feels like it's got too much inside baseball. And I'll pull that back a little bit, because you want some inside jokes is great, right? You want some material that the diehard fans are going to love. And I think it's fine if there's some stuff that goes over the heads of some fans. But to me, this has to be a show that no matter which episode you turn on, that you can enjoy it. And I think that's doable. I think there are ways to have some inside baseball material that the diehard fans can love, while not offending the fans who are just tuning in for the first time, not turning them off and making them feel like they're not part of the club.
Let's talk about the mix of social media, digital connection, as well as live events. Some of the brands that I've worked with that have really exploded into the general populace, we've always tried to encourage face-to-face events and take that relationship beyond just digital only. What are some of the ways that you, through Jokers, through some of the other shows, have generated this face-to-face feedback?
So there is something magical when you are in person with fans. One of my favorite moments on Impractical Jokers was our 100th episode. We filmed our 100th episode live at South Street Seaport. And we did a live punishment where the guys had to walk across a high wire. And it was great. Q made it across the entire high wire at the very end of the show. It was a lot of fun. But the most magical part of it was seeing seas of Jokers fans standing there and cheering and seeing in person what that love is like. Because it's one thing to go and film a challenge and say, oh, we think the viewers are going to love this. It's another thing to see them face to face and to see their reaction when they see the guys. Anytime I'm in public with the Jokers, and I don't just mean when we're filming, I mean if I'm having dinner with one of them, or when I see fans notice them, it just warms my heart because you see the look on their face. You see how it's just made their day just to see these guys. And so I think that engaging with people in person is so important and so great. So I think whether it's appearing on a Comic-Con panel or whether it's shooting a live episode in front of an audience, really any kind of engagement, I think in-person engagement really, really helps.
You know, we are working on a project, you and I, and one of the things that I think has been most important for us, we went directly to the target audience, not just communicating with them on the internet, but physically showed up and just set up tables and shops and just started talking to people. What are some frameworks you would try to provide to brands to take some of this online activity or generate some more enthusiasm, not just digital only, but introducing this live component?
I think live activations are hugely important and hugely helpful when it comes to brands. I think whatever you're trying to sell, if you can come face to face with who you're trying to reach, you are going to learn a lot more. People can say things anonymously on subreddit, but when they are face to face with you, I feel like you just really learn a lot about whatever it is you're trying to sell to them.
It really moves the needle when it comes to enthusiasm and love. And then you do have the ability to also speak to not only newer fans, but you guys have also set up certain programs and certain activations for super fans. The Impractical Jokers Cruise, for one.
Yeah, I mean, the Jokers Cruise is a good example of a way to engage with these fans. The Jokers spend a week on a boat with all these strangers who are just fans. Some might call it a little bit risky because you don't know who you're going to get on those boats. But the Jokers Cruise is a great example of really smart fan engagement because you're giving the fans what they want because they get to be on a cruise with the Impractical Jokers. But you also get a lot of fan feedback while you're there. Whether I'm leading my workshops with financial companies or whether it's a comedy TV show, in-person engagement is so critical because you want to look at the people in the eyes and see what's resonating and what's not resonating.
So speaking of your workshops, Simmy, after having been in television for 20 plus years, you are now giving workshops and helping brands and businesses throughout the world. What are you working on?
So throughout my career, I've always been referred to as a creative fixer, somebody who can come in and help streamline efficiency, help get projects back on track. And I've done that with production companies and TV shows. And at a certain point, I started talking to people outside of entertainment. And I realized that there was a lot of shared DNA in terms of people's frustrations and the issues that people face in their jobs. And while a financial company might feel very different than what I do in the entertainment industry, we could all be in a support group together about the frustrations of inefficient brainstorming and completely unproductive problem solving. And I realized I can help these companies become more efficient, become more productive by using the skills that I've learned as a creative fixer in all these shows and all these projects. So I started working with companies in finance and in tech, working with these teams, whether it was the marketing team, whether it's the C-suite or the interns, really anybody across the board teaching them how to think differently. And I started leading these workshops that I call Rethink the Way You Think, where I show clips of TV shows that I've produced, and I use the lessons that I've learned in my experience on those shows to help teams brainstorm, problem solve more effectively and more efficiently.
What are some examples of challenges and problems that a brand would come and think, this needs a creative fix?
It's so funny. So many people that I work with, the first thing they say to me is, well, we're not a creative company. This is not our thing. I was just meeting with a financial PR firm, and they said, well, we're not creative. Creativity is not really what we do. And I said, well, what do you do? And they said, well, if a CEO is hired or fired, we're writing the press release. And I said, well, what are some of the issues you're having? And they said, well, we're finding that our press releases are not, they're feeling all the same. It doesn't feel like they're telling the story the way they should. And I said, well, that is storytelling. That's literally telling the story. And yet you might be a financial PR firm and you might not have a creative department at that financial PR firm. But thinking about how to generate those press releases in more creative ways will only generate better business and will only lead to profitability. And so I love the challenge of coming into a company that does not consider itself creative and helping people realize that with some very, very easy to learn methods, you can be more creative and recognize that and realize that you're a lot more creative than you ever thought you were. And you can solve problems that you never thought you could have solved in pretty easy to learn ways.
So it's first identifying that there is a creative fix for what you thought was not a creative problem, whether it's from brainstorming and efficiency to messaging points, and then implementing these frameworks to help them think differently and rethink the way you think. What are some tools and tactics that you might introduce to, let's say, a financial PR firm to help them get the brainstorming and efficiency going?
So to me, all the approaches that I bring are super simple. I believe in simplifying and gamifying. Those are really the two most important steps to me. I think everything needs to be simplified. There's so much unnecessary complexity in the world. And when you break things down and make things simpler, and then you gamify them, and I'll explain a little bit what I mean, but when you create fun ways to attack the brainstorming process, you can do a lot with a little. And so a lot of the frameworks that I use in my workshops, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm not doing anything that feels that groundbreaking, but when you experience it, you see how effective it actually is. So in my workshops, I talk a lot about time and the importance of using time to your benefit. And I talk about when I was the head writer at Total Request Live, we had to work under a ticking clock. It was a live TV show, and you didn't have time to sit there and think for days, sometimes not even hours. And when you don't have the crutch of a lot of time, your brain can unlock in ways that allow you to generate solutions, solve problems, and generate creative fixes in really surprising ways. So in a lot of my workshops, what I do is I set timers. I say, we're going to set a timer. I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock, and we are going to generate 3 solutions to this problem that we're discussing right now. And I'm keeping an eye on the clock. We've got 3 minutes left. We got 2 minutes left. And by the end, people are always amazed at what they were able to generate when they had the pressure of time. Mm-hmm. And time's one of those things that if you don't use time the right way, 1 minute can feel like a panic attack. But if you use it the right way, 1 minute can feel like an eternity. And it's all a matter of taking that deep breath and approaching it the right way.
It's almost like reframing time as the enemy and turning that into your friend and a powerful tool.
Time is a hugely powerful tool. When you realize how long a minute actually is, you realize how much you can do with a minute, how much you can do with 5 minutes, how much you can do with an hour. And so many people in all different industries sit down and say, well, let's solve some problems. Let's generate some ideas. They sit down, they don't have a clock on it. They say, however long it takes, we're going to try and come up with some solutions. It might seem counterintuitive, but if you say, we're going to put 30 minutes on this clock, right now it is 1:30, by 2 o'clock, we're going to end this meeting, go. When you do that, people's brains unlock in this really interesting way, and you start solving problems. And it's something that people in all these workshops that I lead, they always seem surprised by how much we're able to accomplish in a short amount of time. But I'm just a big believer in structured creativity. I think that creativity needs structure to thrive.
You know, if you give somebody 48 hours, it will take 48 hours.
Yes.
If you give somebody 3 months, it will take 3 months. It's just the way our brains are wired. And by gamifying this and using time as a weapon, you've kind of made this fun. And I think one of the key things that you said is you've unlocked something within you.
Without a doubt. I have these 4 steps that I go through in my workshops and my presentations. The first 2 are time and volume, the importance of embracing a ticking clock, and then generating volume and generating as many ideas as you can in a short amount of time. People always say, is it quantity or quality? When it comes to solving problems and generating ideas for solutions, you start with quantity and then quality comes. If you set a timer and say, we're going to spend 10 minutes brainstorming this and we are going to generate 5 ideas, you put a quote on it, then again, the brains in that room unlock in a really interesting way, and you achieve so much more than you would have if you just sat down and said, let's try to solve some problems. The structure is everything.
So for those brands listening, for those founders listening, put the timer on it, sit with your team, and quantify it.
100%. Lean on time and volume to help you solve your problems. No matter what you're doing, you can use these rules and these approaches and these frameworks to generate more creative episodes or episode titles, whatever you need to do. If you are working at a real estate company and you are just looking for ways to drum up business, or if you're looking for ways to streamline your day so that your schedule is more productive, if you're trying to streamline your internal communication or your external messaging, whatever you're trying to do, if you combine time and volume, if you embrace the ticking clock and hit quotas, and then use some of the framework that I share and that we explored, it's hugely helpful. What I think is the beauty of my workshops and my presentations is the rules that I'm teaching and sharing can be applied anywhere. So if you're a company that has a financial literacy podcast that you're trying to make more creative, this can help you make that more creative. If you're managing up or you're managing down, whether you're in the C-suite or whether you're an intern or whether you're anywhere in between, using these lessons helps you think differently and approach problem solving differently.
So these frameworks not only help people come up with creative ideas and content, but with productivity and efficiency, because every business wants to maximize time. Every person wants to maximize time. If a brand comes to you, and this is one of their primary problems, right, where they say, I'm just taking too long, or our process isn't necessarily correct. If I were to come to you and say, hey, this is a challenge that I have, what are some ways do you think, or what are some frameworks that we could work on to help improve it?
So I like to tailor my frameworks to the kind of company that I'm working with and the issues that they have. But there are some frameworks that I bring to these workshops that work universally. One of my favorite games to play, and again, I talk about gamifying everything, right? It's all about simplifying and gamifying. One thing that I love to do with companies is something I like to call reverse thinking, where you create the worst possible version of whatever it is you're working on. You intentionally make the worst version. And it's a really fun exercise. And then when you do that, you then go through it and you flip each line in what you just did and see what the opposite of that is. And you invariably find ways to improve what you're doing.
So you've generated however many of these games and these different creative exercises. And so for brands who want to take as much time as they think that they need, you're introducing these live TV and the show must go on elements to help them think more creatively and better.
Companies hire consultants to come in and lead workshops and presentations all the time. But what I pride myself on is walking into a workshop, working with a group of people, and then having them walk out at the end and say, wow, I cannot believe how much we just accomplished in that short amount of time. People will sit around for hours just aimlessly brainstorming. And it's such a waste of time. And it's annoying. Nobody wants to sit in a room and accomplish nothing. But if you can sit somewhere and actually have an effective brainstorm that's structured and targeted, then you'll have more fun. You'll feel more accomplished, and it'll just be far more effective. So that's what I really pride myself on, is coming in and not just being somebody who gives some suggestions that maybe they can use down the line, but saying, no, this is how much time we have, and we're going to accomplish this. Let's go.
It's giving people this structure, this framework, this fun to take them to this new level they just didn't think that they could get to.
Yes.
The flip side of that is when you're looking at a blank piece of paper, a lot of people find it really hard. And when something doesn't click right away, you start feeling bad. This isn't working. This isn't happening. And this infrastructure that you've put together, it's almost been purposefully created to avoid that and to do the opposite.
Without a doubt. A blank piece of paper, a blank canvas scares me. I don't like it. I don't like looking at a blank canvas. I like to see something to work off of. And so I talk to people all the time about creating a laundry list. Start with a boring laundry list. And then from that boring laundry list will come branches of the tree that you never would have expected. If you work at a fashion company and you're trying to figure out ways to expand and to better identify your brand, start with a laundry list of every city in America that you want your clothing sold in. Put 5 minutes on the clock and say, we're going to generate a ton of city names. And it's Dallas and Memphis and Chicago. Just a boring list, nothing exciting about that. But when that timer goes off and you look at the laundry list and you look at all those cities, well, you might look at it and say, oh, Memphis, interesting. And that might lead you somewhere else. And then suddenly you're building off a different branch of the tree. I'm a big believer in starting off with boring laundry lists and then moving on from there. So people get very caught up in figuring out the solutions right off the bat or generating the perfect idea right away. Start boring and then jump off from there.
And Simmy, you've been so kind to answer so many questions and to be our best friend and first guest of the show. Let's do a pitch. Where can people find you? How can they contact you?
If you go on my website, which is clocktowerinnovation.com, you'll find ways to contact me. You can reach me at simmy@clocktowerinnovation.com and reach out and let's talk. This is what I love doing. I really love leading these workshops and these presentations. I love consulting with various companies. If this is something that interests people, I'd love for them to reach out. So yeah, simmy@clocktowerinnovation.com.
And you guys should. So I think for any brand trying to build content out, trying to communicate better, trying to think better, trying to be efficient, you bring just so much into the table.
I appreciate that, Matt. It's been a joy working with you over the past year, and I love what you do, and I'm excited to continue working together.
What are we working on, Simmy? Just in case people aren't aware.
Oh, it's this. We're creating a social media app that is the best parts of a lot of the apps and a lot of the social media that people love without all the stuff that they hate. And it's been going great. I'm super excited about it, and I can't wait to share it with the world.
Cannot wait. We should have a beta in the App Store very soon. The product is called Connyct, CONNYCT. Please go to the website, sign up if you want to check it out. Get on the waiting list and mailing list. As Simmy mentioned, we are taking some of the best from different social media networks, whether it's video, whether it's community, and we've got some fun stuff planned. And Simmy, your ideas and leadership and stewardship here have been so tremendous. I really can't wait for people to see.
It's been such a joy, Matt. It's been so much fun, and I've loved working with you on it. It's been a passion project, and I can't wait to share it with the world.
Big player, move up, shake your second now. Big player, money maker, kick cash. Big player, world creator. Big player, motor, feathers. On the grind, night and day, all day. Chasing dreams, pave the way. Big decisions, boss play, boss living large every day.